The lady had a question on the lumber industry. Bruce, is that something that you might be willing to try to field?
Give it my best shot. I spent my life in the timber industry.
I forget who it was. Somebody in here.
What was your question?
Well, they had referenced Washington Street, and I guess some lumber people came down from Washington and started something. And I wondered how that went. You know, what was the takeoff point, and how did that develop in this area?
I believe. Everybody hear me?
Yeah.
My father and four of his previous partners, and I believe one of those partners lived on Washington Street. I'm not sure. Governor Emerson lived up there. And they come here after World War II. And that was all, they met in the military. My dad, it was kind of interesting because alphabetical order, like we're about Neusser, and then they met cutting hair in hospitals and things. And come in, fortunately I could get the story from Alex Werdow, but when they're coming home underneath the Golden Gate Bridge, I said, well, you know, we should go in the timber industry. So that's how it happened. And then Builders Lumber Company, GNR was formed. There was a newspaper article that my wife was able to get from Alex a lot of the history of the businesses that were formed just from that group. But there were several mills that have been here come and gone. I think there was just about a sawmill, just about every place you could think of one. I don't know how many mills they were. I heard 200 at one time between here and Denver. I don't know if you have any questions about particulars. Is that better?
Yes.
So, you know, I've spent my life one way or another, and to this day, the timber industry is fed my family. So that's how my family was started. And I worked at the tire shop for about 7 years. So that's where I got my pedigree. You know that I was severely dyslexic, so I learned by listening. And people said, "Where do you get your business?" And I said, "Well, I changed tires for business people for 7 years." And that's where I received my pedigree. They would come in and talk to my bosses, Walt and Lawrence's man, but that was very interesting. The education that you could receive by listening to the local people talk, and the ethics that you learn what works and what don't work. So I don't know if I can answer anything else, but that's some of the earlier things like the mills, plywood mills and things like that were in the earliest. But anyway, a tremendous amount of commerce was going on. So I like listening to the story about the wool cars, because my big brother and myself, when the wool bags were very tall, and so they needed somebody with a strong back and a weak mind to put them on. I don't know whether they ever got some little parts. That was very good.
Worse than that was filling the wool bags. The wool bags were hung up there about 6 feet, 7 feet tall. And you threw 3 fleeces in, then you got up, climbed up a ladder, and jumped in the wool sack and tromped the wool by your feet. Try that at a 100-degree day. One further comment on wood for forest products. During the earlier days, you could not give away fir trees. On that ranch of ours, we killed the trees to improve the pasture. You couldn't give the timber away. You couldn't sell it, couldn't give it away until the end of World War II. That's when it all began here.
Yeah. Anyway, that's some of my history.
So you actually were, Bruce, you were actually actually loading the boxcars. I wasn't the only guy doing that. You were doing it too.
Yeah.
I couldn't get out of town
He
fast
picked guys.
Yeah.
I mean, he got my brother and he figured it runs if he was stupid enough to do it. I had to be.
Because those bags weighed 300 pounds, and you'd be one person in the top of the boxcar rolling the thing back to the end of the boxcar, and then coming back and getting. You could actually get 2 levels up there.
The car was full. This was a very thrifty community. There was nothing wasted. The car was full. And if you slipped down in between the bags, it was difficult to get out. So you try to never have that happen.
Any more questions?
I might mention property sale about World War II. My sister and my aunt raised us. She had a volunteer during World War II. We had a cabin, a little house type of thing up by the reservoir, way up on top of the hill for spotters. And they run shifts, and they go down and park by Simonson's Dairy Lot, and they walk up the hill and get in the little house with their field glasses and binoculars and watch all day for airplanes, strange airplanes, Japanese airplanes. I remember that very well. I'm sure my sister does too. Because there was a time in World War II where we weren't really safe around our shop. The Japanese were getting pretty close, and they found subs around San Francisco Bay, and they found submarines in Southern California. It was not going to be a good thing, but it all turned around.
I can add about the submarines during World War II. Now, I don't know whether it was about 43 or 44, but the military brought a suicide Japanese sub through Cloverdale and parked right there where the plaza is now for all day. And I remember going through it. It was about 25, 30 feet long, and it was just a suicide sub is what it was supposed to be. As they came into the Bay Area, came to San Diego, and things like that. The Japanese dropped these subs off the ships and let them come into these ports. And a lot of them got away with it, couldn't they? The United States captured this one and brought it 2 years without a semi. And everybody in town, I think at the time, 800 people. What to do it? I don't know how anybody knew it was coming, but it was quite an event.
It was different, a moment ago I said, we never had, just think about this. You think about the young people today. No television, no computer, no fast food restaurants. Not one. Nothing. All you had was a radio. Radio, that was it. And we didn't get news from back New York and Washington, only over the radio. I remember a newscaster by the name of Gabriel Peter. You remember him? We used to listen to him and talking about the war and that type of thing. But other than that, like I said, it was a simple time in life. You couldn't even get I don't think you could get a hamburger. I don't remember ever getting a hamburger when I was a young child. Do you?
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. It's different.
Well, it was
different time.
What was interesting though is that if you went up to the ballpark on a Saturday or a Sunday, you'd find 300-400 people up there watching ball, because that was the entertainment for the town. They had people coming in from San Francisco to play ball with the local guys here, and it was interesting. I mean, it was jammed with people. The stands would be full.
Where was that ballpark at?
Right where it is now. Same ballpark.
And I'm not into Citrus Fair. I remember going as a child at Citrus Fair. We had 12 to 14 feature exhibits. Now we've got 3. I mean, anybody living in, not everybody, but the high school, the American Legion, the VFW, the Grange, right on the line, all built feature exhibits. And I can remember so well, back in the late 30s, going to the fair. That was the only thing going on. I mean, that was it. That was the entertainment. We didn't have entertainment except for the radio. So we looked forward to the fair, and it was really, really a wonderful thing to do. as children, we used to go up the old fair building that burned down, had balconies. And we'd go up the balconies and look down on the people. And you take a Saturday night at the fair, back then, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. They had a huge dance floor, and that was a big band era. They always had the Del Courtney band from Oakland, or the Ralph Lawson band. They were a big band era, and they played beautiful music. But let me tell you, we used to sit down and look down at these people. All the men coming into the dance floor with the ladies all wore suits and ties. There wasn't one person on that dance floor that was not well dressed. Because I'm talking about 1941, 42, 40. But that's what they did those days. And that was a lot of fun. And all they had was a Ferris wheel. The Ferris wheel was where the restaurant closed down on the corner there, First Street and the Old Bar. And that's about it. But it was fun, right?
One more
Yeah.
question.
Wait, let me say one thing. One thing that I just in listening to everybody here talking, I think I learned my public service or that kind of giving back type stuff from my dad, because he was a member of the volunteer fire department in this town, and this town didn't have a full-time fire department. You know, it was all volunteers. And it was interesting every time the siren went off to see what happened, because everybody went nuts. It was really something, and it became a very important part of the fabric of the community. Was I think I paid $1. I got paid $1 for a small fire and $2 for a big fire. And what they did with the money is they would pool all the money, and then they'd throw a party for the firemen at the end of the year. So that was their pay for being a volunteer fireman.
My question has to do with the town and the roads. Getting out to the Cooley Ranch, would you go out Cherry Creek? Was that a main drag? Or I can remember driving when 101 was downtown. I can remember doing that, and I just wanted to know what your thoughts about how the roads have changed in town.
Well, a big change for me is that I used to hunt out at the Dawson Ranch, which was owned by the McLaughlins, who had the Hot Springs Ranch, and we would patrol the area for poachers. And of course, that part of that you're talking about, the road, it is no more, because you go to Doherty Creek and it stops right there. That property that I used to hunt on is actually underwater. So, you know, that's part of what happens here too, is they put in the Sonoma Dam, and it's changed.
Add to that, Hot Springs Road left at the fire station has now got another name. It doesn't become Hot Springs Road now.
Shady Lane.
Foothill Boulevard. But it used to start right there crossing the line at the fire station. And it went out to an end of the end of the county road was at our headquarters on the ranch. And there were 11 gates you had to get out and open. I remember at first when I began to get to that point, my sister and I would fight over who was going to open the gate. Then we fought over who was not going to get out. The Sand Edith could be a bit stuffy, and one day our hired hand said, "I've got to go to Cover to get some. Do you want to ride along?" And I'm kind of dirty. I said, I was maybe 8 years old. I think he wanted somebody to open the gates. You know, get to Cloverdale. He did what he had to do. I walked up and down the main street, got back to the ranch. The telephone was ringing, which was 5 rings. It was a party line. We were 5 rings. It was my aunt. Only one comment. Coolies do not come to town dirty. Coats and ties and be clean. Yeah, the Cherry Creek Road still exists. The county road ends at Cherry Creek. There's a lock gate there, and